Hi folks, and welcome to another guide. In this guide we're going to be looking at trade once again, and basically what I'm going to be doing is using naval air convoy attack with two German air units, sub attack of a convoy of the Arctic Lend-Lease, and a surface radar attack of the Arctic convoy lease. Just to take a look at the resources that are flowing through it and where they're coming from now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the trade convoy icon at the top menu that you can see from the top. If I go to click on this menu button right here, what it's going to do is it's going to show me all the trade routes that I have happening here. So I'm just going to put my cursor on top of this route here, and I can put it really anywhere on this Arctic Lend-Lease route, and I can see that 30 resources. So how do I know that? Well, I can look at the bottom of the screen here. 30 resources are flowing through this particular route. Where these 30 resources are coming from, well, if I go up to the trade icon here, so I'm going to click on this one here, I'm going to click on it here, and I can see when I click on the US here, what's happening is the US is trading 30 resources to the UK itself. So these are coming from the US, and they're traveling along the actual North Atlantic route here and the Pan Am route here, and they're actually leaving from New York. So they're starting from New York and they're traveling all the way up this particular route here and up the Arctic route and ending up there at Archangelisk. That's where it's ending up and entering into Russia. When I look down here, I can see that the Persian route and the actual Iraq route are coming down through here and coming up through the South African and the African coast and the South Atlantic here. And the U.S. is again transporting one resource here from France from a captured iron ore here. So we talked about this last video here. What I want to do is I want to just concentrate on attacking this particular route here that has 30 resources in it, and I want to be able to calculate the amount of damage that actually occurs. I'm started in the 1943 scenario, so I've gone into a couple turns so that I could set up my units here, and I just want to show you here how I've set up my convoys here. So you can see the UK has set up 15, 16, 5, 16, 10, and 5. The Arctic Lend-Lease and so forth, it's put quite a bit. There's actually 31 when you take a look at the US and also Russia. So Russia's put in 15 in the particular Arctic lease. So you can see I've used really a lot of Britons to kind of spread them out, but in the Arctic I've put 16 of the British here and none of the US in the Arctic, and I've put all the Russian escorts inside the Arctic Lend-Lease, so they're going to be providing support and protection to the convoy route. Now, before I do the attack, and I want to be able to find out how many resources that Russia will lose here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto the production screen. I'm going to click on Russia here, and I'm going to look at two numbers here. I'm going to look at 377 and 154 here. So if I want to calculate without an attack what the base amount of resources that Russia will actually be producing this turn, so again this is before the attack, I'm going to take 377 and I'm going to divide it by 1.54, and I'm going to get approximately 244. It's actually 244.8. Now, because this is under the hood, I'll never know whether or not it actually rounds this number up to 245 or that it keeps it at 244. But these two numbers are what I'm going to be working with here to see whether or not Russia's going to lose some resources in the attack. So really this is amplified by the economic multiplier here. So if this economic multiplier would have been 1, then this number here would have either been 245 or 244 out of all of it. Okay, I'm going to need that in my calculations going forward. In this particular example, sometimes what ends up happening is the oil from, and again, just taking a look at this from the trade route button here. So when I look at this, sometimes the oil that comes from Iraq actually goes all the way up through Russia and out through Archangelisk over to UK through the Arctic Lend-Lease. That happens sometimes. The game decides when it wants to do that. If it finds that for some reason this lane gets blocked, it will adjust accordingly and deal with that. In this particular example here, you could see that there are no damaged rails here due to partisan activities. So when I take a look at UK here, they're getting all three of their Iraqian oil sources here. And if I take a look at the source for the Persian oil here, it tells me it's an UK, and I'm getting that resource also, and I should zoom in here so you can actually see it. It's 30. I'm getting 30 for being able to do that with the Persian route also. So when I take a look at England here, it's getting a total 80, and that includes everything that it's getting plus the Persian route, as you can see here. So these are all the difference. If you add all of these up, you're going to get the total amount of 80 that you saw inside the actual production screen for the UK. So that would mean that the UK imports all of its oil. So it's easy to calculate if it ever gets attacked, and you lose some resources from that. So let's go back and let's get rid of the supply here. So remember, the number that I want you to remember for Russia at this point in time is the base, which is without the multiplier. It's approximately 244 or 245. It was 244.8. So I want you to remember that. We could also calculate without the multiplier for England here, and to see what its base was. So when you take a look at its base, it's going to be 268 divided by 1.77, and that gives you a base of 152. And notice the 152, and when I really look at it and I want to count the resources that are there, it will import about 97 resources, giving UK on the map its resource total of 55. So if you take a look at that from this part of the screen, so if I look at this and add these all up, these are going to be 97 resources that are imported by the UK. And the other 55, and I just have to get rid of the units here, the other 55 are created by, and if you count the hexes here, and as was mentioned in the other video, the brown hexes, when I add them all up, I'm going to end up getting 55 resources out of all of them. So with these numbers in hand, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to send out some protection to the convoy lane. And I'm going to go out to about here, so that this way we can see how the convoy defense system works. So if you recall, what will end up happening is this will support the escorts. The CV will provide 2% extra bonus, and the two patrol groups will each have 1%. So when I look at this, I should end up getting 4% added to the defense of this convoy lane by including this fleet in this particular location. So now I'm going to move forward a turn here, and I'm going to adjust all my pieces here for my axes, and I'm going to attack the convoy lane. Remember, 30 resources going to Russia from the US are flowing through this particular lane at this point in time. And no attack has been set up here, so at this point in time we don't see any damage in any reports for convoy attacks. So now I'm going to move the Germans onto the convoy lane. I'm going to make sure I'm in raider mode here. Here is my surface attack. I'm going to stay 5 hexes away from this because this is in fleet mode here, and it will interdict my movement here. if I stop 5 hexes radius. So I'm going to go here, leaving myself one particular op point so I get full attack advantage. Here I'm going to make sure that I'm in raider mode also here, and again I'm just going to go out here. And to be able to perform a naval air convoy attack, I have 2 units here that are in good shape, over 50%. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in full support mode and in bomb naval 1 mode. So when I do that, they'll be able to attack the convoy route here, and we're going to see that in a second. So I've set up now an attack of this route. Recall, there are 30 resources that are flowing through here, and escorts are going to try to support them, but since this is a surface raider here, the manual says that the escorts will scatter, so there won't be any escorts to protect the lane from that point of view. So let's take a look at this, and let's move forward a turn and see the attack. Remember, Russia base was 244 without the multiplier here. So I'm just going to go through this turn here and see what kind of damage the attack has done. And then we're going to try to calculate the resources destroyed by the particular attack. Okay, so not too many resources have been destroyed. It looks like what's happened is I've lost no escorts out of all of this. The aircrafts did not sink anything, but the subs and the surface vessel have sunk 6 merchant marines. Now, that would imply that Russia has lost 6 resources. And I'm going to show that to you through the calculation. Not oil, but the resources themselves. So, going now to Russia here and taking a look at the casualty reports here, notice Russia has lost 6 of its merchant marines. Okay, so I have lost 6 of my merchant marines. I'm now going to go to the production screen, and I notice that it is 369. So it used to be 377, and now it's 369, but the multiplier has also changed. It's become 155. In the previous turn, it was 154. So hence why I always sort of do this calculation here. So I'm going to turn around here, and I'm going to go 369, and I'm going to divide it by 1.55 out of all of it. And I'm going to see what I get. So jumping on my calculator here, once again, if I recall, it's going to be 369 divided by 1.55. So notice it turns out to be 238. So if you recall, the base of Russia was 244. You now have 238. And this is 6 less. And you can see here that Russia lost 6 resources. And you can calculate them if you really want to. So Russia lost 6 resources and from its production from the actual convoy attack, and it lost 6 merchant marines also. So you now notice that when you take a look at the screen here, Russia's lost 6 merchant marines here, and now it will continue to lose since it doesn't have enough to carry its resources. It will continue to lose and will have to borrow one of the merchant marines from its ally, and usually it's the UK that it'll borrow it from. So you can see how the game system actually, by attacking the actual convoy route here, you can destroy resources. Sorry about that. You can actually destroy the resources that are traveling. Now when you take a look at this, it's still, the game will still show you that 30 resources are still flowing through here, but that's not true. So what happened is 30 resources are flowing through here, and then by the time it gets out here, it's really just 24 resources that are flowing through after all the attacks that actually occurred. The game doesn't adjust from that point of view, but it is good to know that, I mean, you don't even have to do the calculations. This more is a detailed explanation of the drop and how to calculate the numbers. I knew just right off the bat by taking a look at the convoy attacks here, every merchant marine sunk out of all of it. The ratio of resources that are lost are 1 to 1. So that means one merchant marine sunk, one resource is going to go. And that resource could be either production resource or it could be oil resource out of all of it. Those are the two that you can get. Oil resources don't go through a multiplier, so they're very easy to calculate. So in other words, once you know the base resources, especially knowing that the UK imports all of them, so you can see here at 65 resources, in the turn before it was 80. So if I look at this, it's lost 25 resources. So when I click on this and I take a look out of it, I can see here that it's actually got 65 coming in. It's actually, sorry, lost 15 resources, and it looks like it's lost the Iraq resources. So now I can go to Iraq here and see what's happening here. So here's the Iraq oil resources here. I'm going to click on the trade button here, and I'm going to click on supply, and I can see here the problem is because partisans are blocking this, all this oil cannot be transported. In other words, this is coming down from here. All this oil is being stopped, and it looks like the UK, I made a mistake, I thought it was 25. It looks like the UK is losing 15 oil this turn, just because partisans attacked in Iraq. So you can see it's very easy to calculate in your mind if you really want to. And once you get a good feel for the game itself, it really does become easy. You don't even have to do the calculations. Just an understanding of the 1-to-1 ratio is all you really need. You don't need to do the actual calculations. I just wanted to show you that it can be done and how the game actually under the hood does the calculations themselves. So what you've seen in this particular video too, and I'm hoping that you see, is you've also seen the naval air convoy attack that is done by the air units that are present. So notice they're within range of being able to attack this convoy lane. They have not done any damage, unfortunately, for the German perspective, but you can see here that the new rule that allows now air units that are in naval bomb mode and full support mode to be able to attack a convoy route again. So again, to be able to use that, just to show you what I'm talking about here, for the naval air convoy attack here, your air units have to be, and I want to zoom in here, your air units have to be in naval bomb mode and have to be in full support mode to be able to accomplish that. Also remember that they have to be over 50% in effectiveness or they will not attack. So keep that in mind. This concludes the second trade guide that I've provided. This one here shows a little bit more the calculations that are involved and how the game actually does the damage to the sinking of the merchant marines shipping, and also the damage that occurs from that. Take care, folks. Stay safe and have yourself a good evening. Bye now.